What's up, my family? Listen, first-time listener, or you've been here the whole damn time. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, giddy up, let's go, no notes.
That's my baby. That's my baby.
We're going at it at 110%.
I just want 5 minutes of happiness, please. Just give me 5 minutes.
And they scored! They did it!
What the hell was that? Oh, yeah!
What the f*** are you talking about?
All right, everybody, welcome in. It's Monday night. We are the Sports Hounds, exclusively on a2dradio.com. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram. Download us wherever you get your podcast. Spreaker, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and iTunes. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, turn those notifications on. Football is upon us Thursday night. There he is.
Hi.
Big win for the Noles last night, Doug.
It's good to be good again.
Yeah, it's good to be good again.
Yes, it is.
Absolute ass whooping by the Florida State Seminoles over the LSU Tigers. Now you can do some scouting. I assume that last night went good enough for you to make the trip to Clemson.
Yeah. We already at the post-game tailgate, we were already making accommodations and all that stuff. We're getting
Very good.
Everything's set.
And then you got Clemson Duke on tonight, kicking off in just a few minutes. We're talking all football. We got predictions. We got hot takes. We got Super Bowl predictions, playoff predictions, week one preview. We got it all covered. Each and every week, we are brought to you by Baggio's Breads, located in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, and with the best stuffed breads, tomato pies, sandwiches, cutlets, and meatballs. Mention A2D Radio for 10% off your in-store purchase. Our poll question tonight is the Eagles and the Chiefs will be a Super Bowl rematch this year. I don't know. The AFC, I'm pretty confident. Perhaps I'm biased. You know, we'll get some objective opinions from a Giants fan and a Dolphins fan here, but I just don't see anyone beating the Eagles in the NFC. I think they're loaded. I think they're going to score a lot of points. I think their defense is just good enough. I'm not worried about both coordinators leaving. The AFC is just going to be a total minefield. If you don't win your division in the AFC, it's going to be tough to make the playoffs because you could probably make an argument for every team pretty much to make a wild card spot. So I am going to disagree to the poll. There's our poll question right there. The Eagles and Kansas City Chiefs will make the Super Bowl. Again, agree or disagree? I disagree. One of them is going to fall off. It's hard to make it 2 years in a row. So, I mean, I'm at 12-5 for the Eagles. Chiefs, I haven't really looked at their schedule yet, but they're going to win some games out there with Patrick Mahomes. But we've talked about this before. You know, I think the Eagles may not be the 14-3, 13-4 because the schedule's a little bit tougher. But I think that once January rolls around, they're going to be a better team than they were last year. So I'm in on the Eagles, Kansas City. It's just too hard. It's too hard for me to agree to the poll for both teams to make it back to the Super Bowl. Plus, that's boring. I mean, it was a great Super Bowl last year. I usually tend to be more bold with my predictions, but I don't even think the Chiefs win the West. We'll get into all of our predictions. I like the Chargers in the West. I mean, if not, Brad always says it all the time. You know, shit or get off the pot. You got Herbert. You got an new offensive coordinator. You know, they got to shit or get off the pot. I think they have a really good season. I think they unseat the Chiefs in the AFC West. That's my Super Bowl. Spoiler alert. Chargers, Eagles. So, Brad, what do you think about a potential Eagles-Chiefs Super Bowl rematch?
You know what? Until either one of these teams is beaten, I have to agree that I think they're both gonna make it. I just think they're both the best teams, and as long as Mahomes is quarterbacking the Chiefs, you can't bet against him. You just can't. As far as the Eagles are concerned, the only thing that bothers me about the Chiefs, and I just want to get this in, what is going on with Chris Jones? Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? Is he out of shape when he comes into camp and then ends up getting hurt? You know, that's the kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff that can screw up a season for a Super Bowl contender. So that's the one thing I would worry about. But I don't see anybody beating the Eagles. I still think they're head and shoulders above everybody in the NFC. And as far as the Chiefs are concerned, that man, as long as he's the quarterback, you know, you still have somebody has to beat him. And none of these guys seem to be able to step up in the big moment and do it. And until somebody does, I can't go against the Chiefs either.
Yeah, and also the Eagles' main competition, according to most, the Niners, they have problems with their star edge rusher as well. He's not in camp yet. He wants a new contract. I can't imagine either of those guys are going to play in week 1 at this point, even if they get it done because of what you said, being in shape.
I just would be concerned. I mean, as far as the Niners are concerned, the Niners will make the playoffs one way or another. And, you know, as far as winning the division, if they don't win the division, they'll probably be good enough to get in as a wild card. And their style of play plays on the road just as well as it plays at home. So I wouldn't be too concerned about them. The Chiefs are another story, though. You got Buffalo, you've got the Jets, you've got Cincinnati, the Ravens, Pittsburgh, you know, and the Chargers.
You said the Jets.
The Jets, yeah. The Jets. Yeah, I said the Jets. Jets defense is monstrous.
They're gonna have, they don't play these games on paper.
I know, but the Jets defense is monstrous. It was monstrous last year. They just couldn't be on the field the whole game.
Last year.
But they still have the same players, though.
It doesn't matter. I don't think it matters. Until they actually win something. I feel like the Niners can give the Eagles a game anywhere, no matter what. You're talking about the guys, Chris Jones, you know, the guy from the Niners that's kind of holding out. They're like, it doesn't matter to me. Like teams like the Chiefs, teams like the Niners, in that regard, the way their offenses are with Patrick Mahomes or the Chiefs, it doesn't matter where they play, right? I don't think it matters. That team is battle tested wherever you want to say, can win wherever they play, right? Niners, that offense translates home, neutral, road, whatever. They did it last year. They gave them a game as best they could without a quarterback. I mean, they didn't have a quarterback that could throw a ball. Now, I think we're forgetting about a dude named Joe Burrow. I mean, we're forgetting the fact that if there's one guy who can match throw for throw with Patrick Mahomes, it's Joe Burrow, with less talent around him. Granted, he has the receivers. I get that. But if Joe Burrow stays upright, and I agree with what both of you said about there's some teams that have to win their division to give them a run. But I feel like the Bengals can go anywhere and win. The Chiefs can go anywhere and win. The Niners can go on the road and win. So, like, those guys winning their division, yeah, it would be great to have – it would be great to have the Bengals host, let's just say, the AFC Championship game for once instead of the other way around. But, like, the AFC, I just don't see – like, you're right, until someone knocks off – I think the Chiefs will win the division. I don't think it really matters how they start. I think more times when guys have holdouts, they worry about – teams worry about week 1. To me, it's week 3, 4, 5 where the conditioning really, really, really makes a difference. Because every time a guy holds out, it seems like somewhere down the road a hammy, right? Quad, calf. Right?
That's my point with Chris Jones. That's what I would worry about.
Everybody rushes them as fast as they can to get them back to week 1. Well, yeah, are they better with those guys? Obviously. I mean, Chris Jones was the number one reason, in my opinion, why they won the first Super Bowl. Without him, their defense was atrocious until he became a dude, and then he changed the entire complexion of that team when he became who he is. But, like, they're talking about two teams that really, really, like, yeah, do they need them? Of course. Do they need them to be successful in September? No, I don't think so. But, yeah, you take care of those guys. You make sure, 1, they're happy, 2, they're healthy. You know, I think too many teams that, like, when guys have holdouts on teams, let's just say like the Dolphins, right, where they need everybody. We need everybody because us as a wild card team, we're going to have to go play somewhere cold. And we haven't – history has shown we can't do that. But, like, teams like the Bengals, the Chiefs, Eagles, those teams like they can withstand one guy because they've been there. There's not an urgency for them to really win. Everybody wants to win week 1, of course. Everyone wants to win. It's a new season, but like early in the year, they're still like they're going to be. It's like they can dump a few games and they're still, at least in the NFC, you can dump a few games and still end up winning your division.
Looks like the AFC West is going to be playing the NFC North as well as the AFC East. So North, not the strongest division, but obviously the AFC East, we've talked about that a lot. The Chiefs are also going to play the Jaguars. And the they'll have the Bills. They'll have their division twice. So Jets, Bills, Dolphins, Patriots.
I get the whole Chargers winning the division thing. That's the chic pick, right? They just gave Herbert all this money, blah blah blah. But like to me, it goes with what I said about everybody was blowing the Diamondbacks, right? Oh, look at the Diamondbacks, they're winning. Oh, look at the Reds, how great are they? Where are they now?
Guilty.
Where are they now? Right? Until you've actually done it. NFL is a little bit different, right? Because most teams, you can have that one or two teams that go from 5 and whatever, and then all of a sudden they make a push in the playoffs, right? But like the teams that's why I'm not so. I mean, trust me, when the Jets got Brett Favre, I was like, oh gosh, here we go, great. Yes, were they better? Of course they're going to be better. You have Aaron Rodgers, but I've seen it too many times where teams that were defense dependent, now they have Aaron Rodgers. Now they're watching their offense play. Oh, he'll bail us out. They lose the edge sometimes, not all the time. Sometimes it goes back to the equation. I think of this, and not to bring like personally. This is where I feel like whenever I played for managers that would come out in the beginning of the year say it doesn't matter what Doug hits, he's just got to play defense. I had awful offensive years. I didn't take my foot off the gas, but I hated that. I couldn't stand that. Like, no, why do I get a mulligan? Because I can catch it. I can still hit it. I wanted expectations from them on both sides of the ball. And what I mean by that is when you say your defense is so great and now all of a sudden you bring in Aaron Rodgers, oh, heck, we don't have to do as much, right? There's an attitude to it, I think, that I'm interested to see if it really if they continue that success.
I get what you're saying.
They have the talent. Don't get me wrong. They have the talent to shut everybody down. But to me, offenses are so much better than defenses in the NFL with the rules the way they are now. All you're trying to do is slow people down. You're not even trying to stop anybody. You're trying to slow them down. And, it takes time, even with the great quarterbacks they have, to kind of gel and mesh. So, like I said, we talked about that in other shows where to play the Jets, I would want to play them as early as possible.
Yeah, just their
early.
Their defense is their defense.
They're phenomenal. But I think back to last year, their defense was amazing. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the Dolphins, even a lot of their points were late, they still put 30 plus on them. As great as their defense was.
But earlier in the season, the Jets also beat them 41-17.
Right, but
when I'm just saying, their defense after what's his name, the guy, their best player,
Quentin Williams.
After Quentin Williams got hurt, their defense definitely kind of gave up a little bit after that. But their defense was tremendous last year. If their defense, and he's healthy now, their defense plays the way they did last year, they've got guys on offense now who can actually make things happen. I mean, that clearly the quarterback was holding them back last year.
That 41-17 game, they scored like 24 points in the last 2 minutes. You realize that, right? That game was 17. Like,
it was close for a while. It was close for a while, but it
was like 5 minutes left in the game. Trust me. I got to a point where the hell with them score. It really was. It was a game. We had fourth and whatever going into take the lead late in the fourth quarter, and it blew up on our face. So I get what you're saying. I understand their defense is good, but until they look, that franchise is the Mets of the NFL. I don't care.
Oh, I agree with you. I agree with you. And I'm not a Jet. Listen, I'm not a Jet fan.
No, I'm not. No one. I mean, there's only a select few that can stomach that. But
I just think that they're good though. I think they do deserve.
But they've been good before and stunk. So I'm not until I see it, until they can shake the Jets curse. That's why I didn't get gung-ho over the Mets when they brought in whoever they brought in. I'm like, it's still the Mets. They'll figure out a way to screw this up.
So it's starting fast, which I think is essential for a team like the Jets, because if they start losing, that New York Post, New York Daily News, and Rodgers he didn't handle it in Green Bay well when he got criticized. So, I mean, if they don't start, they got.
That's exactly. He is, like I said, he's going to go down as what? A top 5, top 8 quarterback in the history of the NFL, right? Am I wrong? I mean,
no.
But
no, you're not.
Top 10 for sure.
He is.
Easy.
He's also on the Mount Rushmore of prima donna players in the NFL too. Like,
oh yeah,
I joked around today. The first thing I watched something on Fox today. I think it was Fox. They had Keyshawn Johnson and Michael Irvin talking about how Coach Prime Deion Sanders, how he put his arm around a guy for fumbling. I go, this is coming from 2 diva receivers who you couldn't raise your voice at. Like, it's okay to yell at somebody. It's okay to take criticism as a man. Like, you don't have to berate them, but you also like the whole, I just thought it was comical coming from Keyshawn Johnson of all the people who was the biggest prima donna in the history of the NFL. How a coach can affect the way a guy plays. See, that's where you got it backwards, bud. Like, no, you don't. Like, if you need outside a hug from your head coach, you got issues, bud. Like, you got did your mom wipe your ass when you came out of diapers too when you were 15? Like, you don't need a pat on the back from a coach to be a successful pro. Yes, you want them to have your back, but you don't need to. You don't need someone to massage you as a 20-year-old man. Give me a break. USC.
Can you imagine?
University of spoiled children, baby.
Can you imagine Bill Parcells doing that?
Yeah, well, like Bill Belichick. Yeah, you think you're going to get a wonderful Christmas card if you fumble in the playoffs? No, you're not going to get a warm hug from Bill. It's okay, hon. We'll get the next one. No. Yeah,
Parcells, you'd never touch the ball again.
And that's I just thought it was comical because I think it's funny too because I think in Green Bay, Aaron can and he's earned the right to create the narrative, right? But it's not New York. Like, New York, that's going to be it's going to be a complete roller coaster. We all know it. Like, big.
I have their first.
They win game 1. Oh my gosh, there's fans are going to be buying Super Bowl tickets. Oh my gosh, and then Greeny on Get Up doing everything, holding his jersey up, and they lose. It's like, oh my gosh, they're so bad. It's comical how up and down it is.
They'll beat Buffalo, and then they'll lose at home to New England.
And that will hurt.
That would be the Jets.
That will hurt worse if it goes the other way around.
That'll be the Jets.
I mean, their first 6 are not easy. I mean, they have the Monday night opener, home against Buffalo. Then they're at Dallas. I mean, say what you want about Dallas. Like,
they can't play on anybody.
That's not going to be an easy game.
Like, Dallas is like they're the same thing. You don't know. Dak might throw 5 picks, or he might throw for 500 with 4 touchdowns and run 2 in too. So you just don't know.
I think the Jets do beat Dallas, though.
Again, I do too. But until it's just like I think the Jets are like a lesser version of the Cowboys. At the end of the day, you can't trust them. You can't trust them.
No, not until they prove it. You're right.
Until they prove it, you can't trust them.
So
this comes from Dolphins fans who I have 0 trust in. So I get it.
Then you got a big rivalry with New England. Then you got Kansas City, Denver, and Philadelphia. So, I mean, those are some heavy hitters. Then they have their bye week. Then they got the Giants, who I think are good. I think they're going to go back to the playoffs. Then you got the Chargers, who are good. Buffalo, again, that's division. And then it kind of lightens up a little bit for them.
So if they're 500 after going through that gamut, then they get to finally play the bad team.
Their team is good enough. Let's be honest. I think their team is good enough to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. I really do. But when you finally put expectations on a franchise that can't handle it, I mean, I love the head coach. I love what he does. I love what he brings. But he's never had expectations as a head coach. The players that are there have never had expectations. They've never had. That thing expectation word. It's real. It's real. Because now even the great players try to do more than what they're capable of doing. So can they survive the roller coaster that is, right? Like, because what happened, right? Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, relax. You don't tell the New York media to relax. There is no. They don't believe in that word. They don't have that word in their vocabulary. There is no relax. No. So how that narrative comes around because let's be honest, like you just said, if they're 500 after that stretch, they're in great shape to come out of that 500. But I just think Jet fans have the most like bizarre expectation thought process as fans, right? 3-3. Well, it's not that. Oh my gosh, we're supposed to get Aaron Rodgers. We're supposed to be 7-1, and that I think being 7-1 or 6-1 at that time is going to do more damage to them than if they were 3-3.
I think that the Jet fans are more or less right now. They're waiting for the other shoe to drop, and we'll see.
Right. They're waiting for Cinderella's shoe to fall off. Exactly.
That's what they expect. Jet fans are very negative fans. They expect something bad to happen
until something good happens, and then it goes
right. Yeah, that's kind of how that's what their mentality is.
I mean, they've had a rough go of it. A lot of those Jets fans are also Mets fans, and that's the most tortured fan base.
I love walking down that tunnel with my Jason Taylor jersey on. I used to love it. And I would get the security guys would throw stuff at me, which was awesome. We had a great rapport back then. We had a great rapport. They knew I was a Dolphins fan, and we had running bets where I had to wear jerseys. And I said I've never wore a Jets jersey, and I never will. And thankfully, I didn't have to that year. So it was deep. It was the only happiness I had that year because I played so bad was not having to wear a Jet jersey.
Some comments here. Brian Daly disagrees with the poll. The AFC is much tougher conference. The Chiefs will have a hard time repeating. Brian Wilson's in the house. Mike Marshall's in the house. Aaron is a goon, but he's one of the best to ever do it. I think he's easily top 10.
Agreed.
AFC playoff picks: Chiefs, Bills, Bengals, Jags, Jets, Ravens, Steelers.
Can't disagree with that. Honestly, you can break it down and think like there's I can think of like two teams in the AFC where you're like they have no shot of making the playoffs, right? Maybe two, and then you can throw everybody else in there and be like, you can see it.
The Colts and Texans are the only teams that really don't have a shot.
You really realize they have no shot of making the playoffs,
right? I mean, you can make arguments for every other team, including New England, including Denver.
I think the Jags get in only because of the division they're in.
I agree.
I don't expect them to. I'm not seeing this monumental leap that everybody thinks. I think they're going to take.
I think they are going to be a high seed though because of their division. They're going to win some.
Right. They could be 9-8 and be the 3 seed.
Yeah, but I think their record's going to be better though.
Yeah, because I get it, but
they don't play anybody.
That's right.
I mean, they'll probably win 11 games because,
like I said, there's going to be a team like the Jags that get in with, let's say, 11-6, and there's going to be 3 teams there might be 2 teams that are 6-11 that are legitimately physically better than they are. Like that's
that could happen. That could happen in the AFC for sure.
So, I just don't think the Chiefs can repeat in this. I mean, if they do, my gosh. I mean, just go ahead and put a gold jacket on him while he's playing. If he pulls this off, because honestly, can you think of a tougher conference for a team to not only get the Super Bowl, win a Super Bowl than the AFC is this year? Can you think of a tougher conference than the AFC now? Then
this year?
You always had like early 90s, mid 90s, you had the Packers, you had the Niners, the Cowboys, like the Eagles. I mean, you had like the Giants. Like you always had like 3 or 4 teams where you could be like, oh, these are going to be good games. The Niners against the Cowboys back then with Steve Young and Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre
and those guys.
But you knew it was like 2, maybe 3.
Right.
There's 11 teams. You're like, man, that wouldn't be a bad AFC Championship game, or that's going to be a heck of a playoff game, or you know what I'm saying? So like that, I can't think of a conference that's been this deep since I've really paid attention to football since like the early 80s.
Yeah, the only thing I can compare it to is a few years ago in the NBA, it was the Western Conference was way better than the East.
Right. The 8 seed could have knocked out the 1 seed in the first round.
And I mean, the AFC, they have all the quarterbacks. They have Herbert, they have Burrow, they have Mahomes. Rodgers is there now.
You say Herbert.
Russell Wilson's out there. Josh Allen's over there. So I mean, this is really going to change anytime soon.
I think Kenny Pickett is going to make a name for himself this year too. By the way,
I just think everybody's leaving, like Josh Allen and the Bills, like they're forgetting about them. Don't forget, like last year at this time, they were like, oh my gosh, they're going to win the Super Bowl. And like you forget about teams like that. They got I think they got more stuff going on behind the scenes that we know of. A lot of disgruntlement like this. But I love I love their head coach. I just feel like you keep leaving them out. And that's when you forget about somebody, I feel like they're the forgotten one out of all this.
Oh, I wouldn't forget them. They're awfully good.
They're scary.
I still think they're the team to beat in the AFC East.
I think you can honestly say at every AFC playoff game, whoever has the ball last is going to win.
Yeah.
The thing with the Bills with me, though, is 2 years ago, they had the Chiefs dead to rights in Arrowhead.
Dead.
And
that was a terrible
they didn't manage the game right, and they let Mahomes go up and down the field. So, like, kind of look at that and be like,
9 seconds left.
You had your chance.
11 seconds in the NFL? It was like
13 seconds they had from the 20-yard line, and they let him get into field goal range.
It was unbelievable. Like it doesn't. I mean, but there it goes. Like there's one of the most underrated head coaches and coaching staffs a couple of years ago of that team. I mean, look where they are now. They got NFL head coaches everywhere. But you look at that staff they had, and that was the first time they've been put in that position. And what happened? Like that, it didn't work out for them. You're 13 seconds.
But what Josh Allen did in that game, he engineered 2 touchdown drives in the last 2 minutes,
right,
to take a 3-point lead. I mean, Allen did that,
right,
and then their defense blew it in 13 seconds.
Correct.
And they're supposed to be, I mean, McDermott, you said you like him. I mean, he's supposed to be a defensive coach, and he couldn't. Great player in Patrick Mahomes, but he couldn't get it done. And I don't think Allen's been the same since. I mean, Allen's still extremely talented. He's big and huge, and he can run, and he can throw the ball through a brick wall. But I think Dable,
he needs help.
They're making him do too much.
Yeah,
he looked mortal. He looked mortal in the second half of last year.
He
also had a bad elbow too.
He's in New York now.
That's what I mean, because he was their leading rusher. Like, no offense, like, yeah, you want to run the ball occasionally, but like when he is your entire offense, throwing it or running it, like all that adds up after a while. And like it just didn't look the same where you're like that 2 years ago we're talking about was like, man, like you're the best player on the planet.
He looked very beat up last year at the end.
I mean, he looked old for him. Yeah.
He
was still great, but he
was so beat up by the Cincinnati game at the end of the season, it was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
You know, and he was getting beat up that game because the offensive line completely let them down.
And that's what I'm concerned about with the Jets. You know, like you're gonna ask, like everybody's gonna sit back and like, all right, Aaron, go. And like, are people forgetting that the Jets' offensive line is horrendous?
Yeah, it's still not that. Yeah, it's still not that great.
And granted, he gets the ball out in 1.8 seconds. So, but still, it's like.
Yeah, but they still have to run the ball, and they do have good running backs.
Yes, they do. But their offensive line is atrocious.
That's true. They will have. In all fairness, though, Becton is supposed to be healthy now for the first time in a long time, so that might help them.
It'll definitely help. It don't matter who stays healthy the longest, and we say that. Everything. That's everything in sports. Whoever stays the healthiest the longest.
Especially in football, though.
Mm-hmm.
Football more than any other sport because so many guys get injured in football.
Correct.
All right. So you want to get into AFC playoff picks, and we'll talk about the NFC?
Yes, fine.
Yeah, why don't you start, Rob?
All right, so I like the Chargers in the West. I'm just gonna die on the Chargers hill. I pick them every year.
I can see
They,
that.
they always. Herbert's really
Always
good.
inherently wrong with the Chargers.
Oh, it's like the White Sox. I have my teams that I pick every year. The White Sox were one of them for years. They never do anything. I get all. Well, now I have insider information that tells me that they suck. They finally got rid of all their guys, though. They got
They're a train wreck.
new
You know,
management.
they went and did the same exact thing and hired the same guy. It's like you just created another 10 years of misery. Nice job. Way to go. Stay hot, guys. Hell of a job. Welcome to misery for another decade. Good job.
2 seed, I like the Jaguars. I think they're probably going to get to 11 or 12 wins. Because they play the South, the NFC South. They play their division. They're going to have an opportunity to get some wins. 3, I like the Steelers. I like the Steelers in the North. I think Brad hit the nail on the head with Kenny Pickett. I think he steps up. And yeah, that's another reason why I like the Chargers. I think Kellen Moore is a great offensive coordinator. Where am I at here? I'm going to reluctantly trust the Jets in the East. And then you get the wild card. I don't know. The Chiefs are going to be a wild card. I think the Ravens will get a wild card. And I'll go Bengals for my last wild card.
So here we go. You said Chargers.
That's tough. So I got no Denver. I got no Buffalo.
You're throwing
Miami.
Buffalo out, huh? Wow. Okay.
One of these teams is going to be I really like the Ravens. I think that they finally have Lamar on track and set up for success. He doesn't have to beat Josh Allen.
Odell Beckham is going to really help that team.
Is that serious or is that sarcasm?
No, I'm serious.
And I really like their rookie, Zay Flowers, too. Doug, you mentioned him before. He's a beast.
He catches everything.
And he can, you can throw him a bubble screen and he could take it 70 yards. No problem.
We'll see. So right now you have Chargers, Jets, Bills, Chiefs, Steelers, Bengals, Jaguars.
Yes. Now, I can't handicap Cleveland at all. I wake up every day and I have a different opinion on Cleveland. It's all going to depend on Deshaun Watson, but they have some good players there. I don't think they have enough to make the playoffs, though.
If Cleveland was in the NFC, they'd have a shot.
A lot of these teams, if they were in the NFC, they'd be rivaling the Eagles for the top spot. Denver, I'm not buying Denver. I've never been a Sean Payton guy. In the South's going to get 1. 2 worst teams are probably Houston and Indianapolis. But it wouldn't surprise me if Houston got some wins when they start gelling as a team.
Houston's going to win 5 games this year. That's my prediction.
I do think that they're trending in the right direction, though. The Colts, I don't know what they're doing. The Raiders, I don't know what they're doing. So, Brad, who do you have?
Okay. Buffalo, the Ravens, and the Chiefs. And for the wild cards, the Chargers, the Steelers, and the Bengals.
You're missing one. You got the Jaguars in the South?
Oh, the Jaguars, yes. The Jaguars. I'm throwing out the Jets.
I feel so bad for them. I feel bad for their fans. They need something.
No,
the Mets have the same.
Never feel bad for a Jet fan. Ever.
They're Mets fans, too.
Don't ever feel bad for a Jets fan.
Well, I can't feel bad for them for being a Mets fan. The Mets stink. They have the same record. I mean, the Phillies are beating the Mets and the Padres. I mean, total disasters. Phillies are playing the Padres right now. They're up 8-1 in the third. I mean, both those teams have the same record as the Nationals. So I'm gonna throw the Jets, that fan base, a little bone with Aaron Rodgers. But I mean, they better start fast, because that relax stuff with Aaron Rodgers and the New York media, you're absolutely right. That's not gonna fly at all.
See, I could see the Jets going 10-7 and not making the playoffs. That's the problem.
They scored under 300 points last year. You know how hard that is to do in today's NFL? The Jets.
They'll score more points this year.
Oh, obviously, but I mean, you're talking 150 more points from. I mean, I've never looked at that as an NFL guy. I never really looked at like the difference. I'm not an analytic guy, I guess. 100. So you give them 150 more points. Now you're talking. To get to 400, they got to score 120 more points. Can a quarterback? Obviously, a quarterback can, but can a 41-year-old quarterback do that? All he did was complain about not having any weapons in Green Bay. What the heck is he going to here? Like Dalvin Cook, I love him to death. Don't get me wrong, but like he's going to be running around behind no offensive line, none.
Oh, he's got Reese Hall. He's got Reese Hall too to help him out as well,
with no offensive line. So I don't know.
Yeah, I totally hear you on the weapons, and then he wants to make his wish list, and he wants to bring all the Packers weapons that he said were no good.
He just said that he couldn't. He said he had no weapons, but he wants to bring them all with him.
Right.
Like,
he's a weird dude. He's a weird dude.
California.
He microdoses mushrooms and goes on darkness retreats and
gets his buddy gets a punter $120 million from YouTube. Pat McAfee. Bless his heart. Best friend in the world.
Yeah.
And he wants everyone to be transparent with him, and then he doesn't want to be transparent.
He doesn't want to tell anybody anything. Right. Correct.
That's going to go very well in New York.
Yeah, it's a honeymoon's going to end fast.
If they don't win,
it's going to end fast.
Listen, I hope I'm wrong about the Jets. I just have a feeling they're not going to make the play. They'll have a good season, but it's not going to be good enough.
I have as much trust in the Jets as I do the Dolphins. I do. That's not much at all. As much.
Well, who do you think's better, the Broncos or the Jets?
Well, the Jets. The Jets by far. I think the Broncos are very, very, very. I don't think they're very good at all. I even with Russell Wilson, I don't see it.
I don't like them. So, Doug, who do you have in the playoffs for the AFC?
All right. Bills, Chiefs, Bengals win their division. Jaguars, obviously, by default. I got Ravens, Chargers, and I'm stuck between the Jets and the Fins. I don't believe – I love Mike Tomlin. Don't get me wrong. I've always been a huge fan. I just don't see it yet because you're adding in Cleveland now who can sneak up on you and pull one of those games, maybe two, right? Deshaun Watson is he has to be better than he was last year. He has to be, right? So that's another.
He didn't play for almost the whole.
I get it.
Yeah, he missed a lot of time.
I get it. But like that's, you're already talking. So like there's not a easy win in any of that entire division either.
No.
And if you rank their quarterbacks, like as much as I think we're all in agreement that we like Kenny Pickett, but like there's not one person that's going to rank him ahead of any other quarterback in that division. You're not going to Burrow, no.
You're right.
No. Deshaun Watson, no.
Yeah, and if all of that, and think of it this way, okay? If all those guys are back and they're right, they're healthy, and they're back to what the back of their football card says.
Correct.
Jeez.
Right. So that's where it goes down to. Like that's why I have a hard time picking Miami. I just don't think Tua stays upright long enough. I mean, I'm worried about him making it through the Charger game. Game 1. Because the Chargers they made us look really bad last year. Really bad. Like, we couldn't do anything right.
Well, the Bosa brothers are beasts. I mean,
those dudes
Joey on the Chargers and Nick on the Niners are both killers.
So, again, it's like the Bills. They won 13 games last year. That's
everybody forgets that.
Right. They forget that. You know, it's like until I feel that way about the whole division, like the division leaders, winners. Like, I just don't see anybody else having enough at the end of the day. You got Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow. The East, the West, and the North. That's I don't see either one. I don't see any one of those three guys getting worse anytime soon.
No.
So
I could see Lamar getting a lot better too this year.
Yeah, I mean, he honestly is not a guy who finally
people laugh when I mention Beckham. Why is everybody laughing about Beckham? If Beckham could stay healthy,
he can stay healthy, correct?
Yeah, if he could stay healthy.
But you also bring in prima donna.
Really
You're bringing the guy who might want the ball a little much, and that's kind of not what the Ravens style is.
I don't know that he's as much like that anymore.
I just hope he's healthy. I hope he's healthy because
I think he just wants to win. I mean, he got his ring in Los Angeles. Okay, and I think he wants to play. And I first of all, I think he's going to love Baltimore because Baltimore's been dying to get a star receiver, and you know what? He gets one touchdown, and they're gonna be all over him.
That's why I thought
fans, I mean, all in a good way.
Drafting the guys they drafted, I thought was genius because, I mean, the Rams, if I'm not mistaken, they used them more in the red zone than they did to get them to the red zone.
Well, they had Cup.
Right, exactly. But Flowers can do some stuff. I just think I'm just curious to see how he looks after coming off 2 ACLs, not 1. So as much as trust me, as you get old, as I get older, and the players that whenever they're in great players get older and they're coming off injury, I become more and more of a fan of them to see how I want them to do well, won't not go out like that and come back to be who they used to be or close and go from there.
Yeah, they also don't forget Andrews too. He's another one.
Yeah,
another big time player, and Robbins. He's a real solid running back, and Lamar. I mean, they're loaded. I mean, you talk about a team that doesn't come up big in the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. But they're must-see TV. Right? Yeah, you're excited when the Ravens have the Thursday night game or the Sunday night game. You're like, wow, this is gonna be fun to watch.
The other thing with the Ravens is it's almost especially in the playoffs, Doug. It's okay. How are they going to figure out a way to lose this time?
Right.
I mean, last year the quarterback tries to stick the ball over does a quarterback sneak and tries to stick the ball over the goal line. The ball gets knocked out of his hands, and then the Bengals run it back for a touchdown.
Right.
Are you kidding me?
They do. They forget. It's almost like they forget everything they've ever taught since they were 7. And they do the same. They do something incredibly stupid every year in the playoffs. I mean, it's beyond belief with them. It's very true. It's very true. So I'm going to go Jets instead of Dolphins only because, for lack of anything better, if I pick the Dolphins, they're definitely not going to make it. So if I'm the guy that leaves them out, I'll be pleasantly surprised because, one, my predictions will be wrong, but I'll be happy to see my Dolphins make the playoffs. How's that? That's a really lame answer. That's an excuse, but
that's good. My other reason is because I don't like the way Aaron Rodgers getting into it on YouTube with some of the Giant players in a preseason game.
Oh.
I mean, okay, you got him down the field twice for a touchdown while some maintenance men and cashiers are playing out there on defense. Right. Very good, Aaron. Congratulations. You are the man.
Way to grind it out.
Yeah.
Is this the linebacker he said he never heard of?
Right. Yeah. The first preseason game he's played in 5 years.
Right.
I was surprised they even put him out there.
You got
Rodgers,
to.
That is.
You have to.
Oh, Rodgers. They
you do. I mean, I don't care. I mean, look at how much he complained about the new receivers when he didn't go to camp.
Well, he seems to complain either way. He's going to say
complains either way. So it's but to go in and try to be and try to do it game speed. There's one guy that can do it. It's him, obviously. But I just like I said, I'm curious to see how they react coming out of the chute.
They're going to get big tests week 1, Monday night. Great game.
Yeah, I think Buffalo
against
is
the
gonna,
Buffalo
I think
Bills.
Buffalo is going to stick it to them.
I think Buffalo's just laying in the weeds going, you forgot about us.
Yep.
Like, they're going to come out and,
Yeah.
you know.
People are forgetting just how good that team is.
Right. That's why I keep forgetting. Don't forget about that dude up there. He's pretty damn good.
Yep.
There's Rob Povia. He disagrees to the poll. He's going to be the Bengals versus the Niners.
That could happen.
Could happen.
Could happen. The only way that happens is if the Eagles are just have a disastrous stretch of injuries.
They got to get.
It's hard to repeat. Man,
I know it is. I know it is, and it's also, don't forget, playing all those extra playoff games does wear down the players.
It's different.
I am convinced. I'm convinced, especially in football. You're playing more games than you have in in the regular season. Forget the preseason. Okay, the regular season they're getting hit more, and then they're going through the playoffs and playing all those extra games. Yeah, these guys do get worn down. They're human. They do get worn down. Football is a brutal game.
Or said in baseball, that extra month is real.
Yeah, for the pitchers especially.
Ooh, Eagles Jets, huh?
Eagles Jets.
Okay,
that would be fun. That would be fun.
That would be sheer misery.
Talk about two loudmouth fan bases. Holy crap!
That'd be sheer misery for me as a fan from the AFC East.
As a Giant fan, to have to hear Jet fans screaming like that, oh my God!
No, please no. All
right, let's get into the NFC. Eagles going up to Foxborough, week 1. A surprising road favorite. Pretty rare to have be a road favorite in week 1. The Eagles are good. They're as advertised. At least I think so.
Well, the Eagles were in the Super Bowl, and the Patriots didn't make the playoffs. They should be favored. Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't they be? The Eagles are an outstanding football team.
At the end of the day, you look at, I've started to pay attention more to the line. When the quarterback's better than the other quarterback, they're favored, right?
Pretty much.
Like, who would you rather have, Hurts or Mac Jones?
Mac Jones. I mean,
not Mac Jones.
Enough said.
Yeah,
I think the only reason we didn't put the Patriots on the can't make any noise in far as the playoff run is because of Bill Belichick. Now Juju Smith-Schuster's hurt. I mean, They got no juice in New England. They still have decent
defense, though.
They have a mad scientist who can figure out a way to make every team he's ever coached competitive.
Yes, they can.
Still,
that's my only cause for concern for week 1 of the Eagles is Bill Belichick has known about this game since May when the schedule came out.
Uh-huh.
So he's been game planning for months for this high-powered Eagles attack.
That is correct. He's had a long time.
Doug, you got to like what you're seeing out of Duke right now, by the way.
I'm not watching it.
Oh, well, Duke's on the 4-yard line of
actually, see, the other way. See, in order for us to, I hope Clemson wins 60.
Yeah, you want a showdown.
Right. I want game day there.
Clemson. Yeah.
Because the one thing that it did for us winning last night was we got a get out of jail free card, in my opinion. Because now we go to Clemson, play a close game, lose by 3. Let's just say fourth game's a game in the fourth quarter. We lose on the road by 3, right? Well, we'll have another shot to play them again in the ACC championship game, right?
Yes.
So then you win that one, and then you're at least in the conversation.
Well, I mean, based on last night, Florida State looks like they're going to be tough. They're going to be tough.
They look like They look like the best team they've had since Charlie Ward and company.
Yes, but at the same token, it's week 1,
True.
and I think we all can agree that LSU looked significantly different towards the end of last year than they did in week 1. Well, we won't really know how Like you never know. Like
Yeah, they could be a bad team this year.
you're right.
Too.
We pushed LSU around, but like LSU's like SEC West school, yes, I get that. Should we push them around? No. But is this team, who is LSU? Are they a 10-win team? Are they 8-win team? Are they 11-win team? We don't know that yet. I'm just trying to like play devil's advocate here. Like I love what I saw last night, but at the same token, it's like, that's our, we.
You want LSU to go on a run.
Oh, of course. But at the same time, you can look at that game either way.
Committee.
Like, we stopped them 7 times inside the 1. 7. Like, that doesn't happen. With a mobile quarterback, it doesn't happen. That was what I was really impressed about. But at the same token, if they punched those in, you very easily could have been down 2.5, almost 3 scores in the first half.
Yeah, but they didn't. That's the bottom.
Yeah, and I get both sides of it. But then there's also the only reason why we didn't score on every possession is because we dropped passes. They did nothing to stop us the entire night. Nothing.
Yeah, 14.
No, they couldn't.
I don't
they
know
couldn't
his
stop
name.
them.
Like Johnny Wilson, he does that. He catches amazing balls, and then he'll drop 2 or 3.
Is that number 14?
Yeah, he's 6'7".
Yeah,
makes great plays and and like,
that guy's literally unguardable.
Drops slants.
And he makes right, but like that, like again, Bell had a huge drop. The kid we got from South Carolina. So like then the Coleman kid is like, I was pumped about that one because brought him from Michigan State where he had absolutely no quarterback, and now you have a guy who can throw it. Now you got 6'7" on the outside plus 6'4". Like it's scary. Like I didn't expect either offense to get stopped, and I was more impressed with our defense than I don't expect teams to be able to stop us offensively.
What was it? 45-24 was the final, right? I kind of checked out a little bit.
We didn't punt the whole second half. We scored in every possession we had, except the victory formation after the onside.
That doesn't count.
So it was. I mean, it was.
That doesn't count when victory formation doesn't count.
It was the way it looked.
Yeah,
he stuck with the run. And eventually we started moving guys around. And he figured it out. And are we gonna rush for 200 yards against an SEC team? Probably not. But we ran the yards we had to run, and we were the more physical team, which is what we haven't been in a decade.
Yeah, but that to me is the most impressive thing. Who would have thought that you guys would push them around like that?
Right. And our depth showed up finally. Like last night was like
yep.
We had 2 or 3 stops late in the third, early fourth quarter when we kind of put our foot on their throat. But like the Verse kid's going to be a top 15 pick in the NFL. Peyton on the other side and Lovett in the middle, our defensive tackle. But we were getting tackles for losses, and Verse wasn't even on the field. Like he was playing only third downs for a while there, and we had our third string, second, third. Shows our depth finally is starting to come. That's where our biggest problem was. We still had a lot of talent, but it just wasn't deep enough to when they came off the field. Like people forget last year. I know it's not a Florida State fan base, but it's when Lovett number 0, our defensive tackle, he got hurt late in the LSU game last year, and we lost 3 games in a row when he wasn't playing. And when that dude's an animal. I mean, like he's a beast in the middle. And
listen, any team that loses its best defensive player, look at the Steelers last year when they lost T.J. Watt.
And then when he came back, I don't think he didn't lose a game last year. When he was healthy, we didn't lose. So that's an injury we cannot afford to miss. But we are deeper than we have been in a long time, and that's why
they looked like an SEC team.
We made them quit, and that's not normal for
you look like an SEC. You look like an SEC team last night.
We looked like we did in Jimbo Fisher's heyday. Like we took the SEC and threw it right back in their face, basically.
Yep.
What do you make of Brian Kelly and his struggle?
He can't beat us.
He can't beat anybody. He didn't beat anybody at Notre Dame. He's 3-10 all time.
I think he's
top 10 teams.
I think he's a fraud.
You think he's a fraud?
I think he's a fraud. I think he interviews well, and he does well against he's always got a built-in excuse, right? Always. Notre Dame, we can't get the same guys. We have an academic standard, blah, blah, blah. I know for a fact that like Torrey Hunter's son played for him, and Torrey and I played together a long time. And I actually we took him fishing after the Orange Bowl, after the Orange Bowl down here, and he would and they never say anything bad. A lot of the guys had a lot of problems with Brian Kelly, a lot. I haven't heard too many positive things from players that played for him that really enjoy playing for him. I haven't heard too many, and I'm not saying I know a ton, but I don't. But I don't know. It just seems like when they win, it's we did great, and then when his press conference last night made me want to throw up. Like he blamed he took some responsibility, but it was like the players and the coaches have to
generous.
I was like, hang on a second, wait a minute, what? Like, how about you stop running your mouth? Like, don't write checks. Don't let your mouth write checks your body can't cash.
No, in his press conference, he had his quarterback right next to him in the press conference.
And he didn't say a word. He didn't let it, and then when they asked him to talk, he got up and left. He was like, I got to sit through this. And then he sat there like this. Like, how unprofessional is that? And it's like, he beat Alabama last year. Great, absolutely phenomenal. That team was way different at the end than they were in the beginning. But you got to be careful what you say. Like, bulletin board material, that doesn't matter. I don't care about that. Nope. Like, you need extra motivation to play a top 10 opponent on week 1 after you've been doing nothing but hitting each other and running in 1,000-degree heat. Don't give me that. But when it comes to your head guy, like, have some class somewhere, like a little bit, just a little bit, like the fake accent. Like, he's a fraud. Like, who has he beaten ever?
No one.
Nobody.
He wins 10 games a year at Notre Dame, but like you should win 10 games a year at Notre Dame. You play Navy. You have no conference. Like
Georgia Tech.
Like Georgia Tech.
Those are the kind of teams they play. They always play teams like that.
Like USC, when USC stunk. Like, they did play them when they were good, I get it. But like that game was a guaranteed loss for them. Like I even when he was at Notre Dame and we were Norvell, I think, second year, and we don't drop the snap in the fourth quarter. We drop the snap heading in. If we don't drop the snap, our guys wide open. We beat them in whatever that was, 2021, whatever it was, a couple of years ago when Notre Dame had a way better team than we did. Like, we were terrible, and we should have won. And we still should. I mean, we lost the first 4 games that year. And, like, I always joke people like, I'm worried about LSU. I'm like, no, because they're coached by Brian Kelly. I'm not worried at all. I'm a little concerned because they're physically good. But, like, deep down inside, like, Brian Kelly's going to screw it up somewhere. He can't beat anybody good. Never has, never will. Like, he just doesn't do it.
Yeah, he always finds a way.
The Alabama, that was the worst Alabama team Nick Saban's had in a long time. I think we all can agree on that. And they are still top 5 team. But they just didn't have the
No, it was not a vintage Alabama team.
But, I mean, like, they're at home. LSU's a tough place to play at home. And, you can't – and it wasn't like they beat them in overtime, which anytime you beat Alabama, it's impressive. Don't get me wrong. But – he's like 3-10 against ranked opponents.
3-10, yeah.
And like, but again, he hasn't had the number 18th ranked team in the country. He gets the benefit of the doubt everywhere he goes. Notre Dame, always overhyped. Always.
Oh, yeah.
LSU, to me, always overhyped. Except for the Coach O team was
ridiculous, yeah.
Well, when they had Burrow, they were great.
You can put that team up against any of the greatest college football teams in the history of college football.
Yeah, they had Burrow. They had Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase as their offensive.
And it
was unreal.
Don't forget about the defensive guys. They had. Like I said, like
Stingley was on that team.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, we had Florida State in 13 had 11 guys. I want to say that like almost every position was drafted off that team, offense and on both sides of the ball, and that's just insanity. The teams, the Miami teams of the 2000, they had 18 first rounders, but like he's not playing. He's not number 19 playing 1. He's number 3 playing whatever.
Yeah, 8. Yeah. They never gets it done.
And usually I mean, in my opinion, in college football, in the past, maybe not so much anymore, but for most of Brian Kelly's career, you had two teams in college football that were great, and the rest were all like, once you got past 5, it was like the Nestea plunge, right? Now you can say now I think there's a little more parity, right? But for like all the years that Florida State was great, Miami was great. It was like there was 2 teams and then everybody else that had no shot. So most of his time, there were overhyped teams that he got beat by. I just don't. I've never been a fan of him, and I people are like, oh, it's LSU. I go, but it's led by Brian Kelly. We got a shot, even if we were physically not like this year's team was as physical, if not more physical than they were. Even when we're not as good physically with them, I feel like we have a shot to win. Well,
your team sent a message to everybody who has to play them.
But I also think too, again, like as much as excited as I am, and it's great to be good again. The first quarter goes back to everything I talked about the Jets. Like there's a difference between being the hunter and being the hunted. Like living with expectations. Like Florida State for the first time in a decade has expectations. This team has never had expectations under Norvell. Inside the community of Tallahassee, yes. But nationally, and then they came out in the first quarter and they looked, outside of their defense was amazing. But like offensively, we looked disheveled. Like they were
probably a little. They probably had some jitters.
We couldn't run, and it was like, hang on a second. Like, see, we had penalties, which the one thing Norvell has cleaned up is our discipline has been through the roof. And I was like, damn. And granted, like once if the referee had to take his shirt off, it had an LSU football T-shirt on underneath it. But like it was, but like I was like, oh, here we go. Like here we are playing with expectations. Look what we're doing. But we settled down, and like I feel good. And I said this before, it feels good to finally have a team again where every week we go into, no matter who we play, we have a legit shot of winning anywhere.
And that's
next week you got the Southern Mississippi.
Unless they have Brett Favre again, we're all right.
You are 29.5-point favorites next week. One more college thing. 2-0, yes. Yeah. 2-0 for the Seminoles. Did you see the Penn State game on Saturday night? Either of you?
I did not.
Yes, a little bit.
So
a little bit. I was not that impressed with them.
6. I mean, it's just a boring Big Ten. Run it, grind it out.
Yeah, I wasn't that impressed with Penn State. I thought
the spread. What I wanted to get to was the spread was 21. 6 seconds left. James Franklin and the Penn State Nittany Lions. They go for it on a questionable 4th down, and they punch it in to cover the spread with 6 seconds left.
Yeah,
Doug, you're a former professional athlete. Are players and managers cognizant of what the spread is and who's picking who in the national media?
I don't think so. I think the coaches do. I think the what's the word I'm looking for? I think in college football, they 100% do. I think they know. I think the administration knows. I think the coaches know and understand what it looks like when you got to have to impress a committee. Even with the playoffs, you still got to impress people.
Yeah, you need style points.
You still need style points. Like remember back in the BCS when it was 60-3, and like I remember Florida State vividly throwing their like number 1 defense back on the field when it was they won the shutout. They let the second and third string guys play till they got inside the 10. It was like, hang on a second, let's put the A squad back in, and then we shut them down. It matters. So I truly think, hell, I even wasn't real happy with – not happy, but, like, of course, looking back, we gave up a garbage touchdown in the LSU game. But, like, we kept running it, and we were running Jordan Travis. I'm just like, we're up by 3 scores. And then we punched it in to go up to 45. And I'm like, as much as I want to keep scoring, I thought was like, all right, man, like I understand why we did it. It was because of the Brian Kelly comment, and I'm all for that. But at the same token, I'm like, there's a respect level somewhere where like that stuff. There's
no respect in college football.
The only mulligan I have on this is week 1, first time you're playing a game. You want to get as many reps as you possibly can, right? You want to you don't have a preseason, so you're trying to jam pack things to get the guys ready for down the road in 1 week. So I early in seasons, I kind of give you a little bit of leeway. I didn't like what Oregon put 90 on somebody. It's not cool.
81-7, 73-0 for Oklahoma. And I think Ole Miss scored 73-0 as well. That's ridiculous. I want to get rid of those games. There's no point.
But there
proof.
is a point though. The teams they play, they make the money that their athletic department needs for the entire season in those games.
Oh, I mean, you're paying. You really got to put up 90 on someone,
right? But then again, you look back and like as bad as the name is of Jacksonville State when they beat Florida State, like we paid them to come beat us, but Jacksonville State had some D1 players on it. They just transferred. So like those games aren't as bad. There's like those games for the most part, I think teams now are more nervous of that and they're not going to like let up in the sense of that regard. Because they're always worried about what letdown.
Well, I mean, Miami of Ohio against Miami University. I mean, that was ridiculous. That was ridiculous too. What was
Miami can do like Miami put 70 on somebody they were for, and then they got trounced the rest of the season. So, like again, they need to like you want. We played. I forgot who we played. We played somebody bad last year to start off, which I thought was a smart thing before we played LSU. Or we call it week 0 or whatever. But
yeah,
you need those games, I think, to where like that's where your depth comes in. You get other guys reps, and I'm all for like the second string. Go, where do you draw the line? Is where I'm trying to get at. Where do you draw the line? Like enough's enough. Like, all right, like let the second team, third team, if they're in there and they're running their office, let them go. It's your job to stop me. But at the same token, you're like, at some point, 80, 76, like, come on, man, like enough's enough.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point.
So I'm kind of on the.
What does it prove?
There's no after 50. There's no style points. Like, come on,
no,
come on. You're embarrassed. Like, and then, but it's funny. The teams that do that are the teams that cry the most when someone else does it to them.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's amazing.
Well, Harbaugh is that's Harbaugh with Michigan.
All the years my mom worked at University of Miami forever growing up. So I was a diehard Hurricane fan growing up in Miami, and my mom worked there and getting to meet some of those guys. And like they would get bashed for beating like good teams by a ton. And I'm like, hang on a second. Like Notre Dame cried. I mean, like it was Faust's last year coaching. And we put like 50 on or whatever. And like they were like, "Oh my gosh, we'll never play them again. They're so mean." Like, dude, Notre Dame's been putting like look at their record over the years.
Yeah. They playing Purdue and Navy and
hammered people, and then all of a sudden someone does it back to you. You don't like it. It's amazing. I've always said that, even in coaching.
Because Miami, it's kind of assumed that the Oklahomas in the 40s and Notre Dame's in the 50s were going to put 100 on you. That was like, but then a new kid on the block comes in.
They can't
like
handle
Miami.
They can't handle it. Right.
And it's like, oh, okay. You're not supposed to be doing this.
Like
this isn't fair.
Clemson did, like we went in 2013, Florida State went in with Jameis. It was like 3-5. And it was like 51-14. And they were like, we'll never forget this. I'm like, you've been drubbing people since. Like, don't give me that. Like you're telling me you would have took a knee in the third quarter when it was 45-17? No. Like that's a little different. Like if both teams are good, like I have no problems with it. Like it's your job to stop me. Your kids quit. That's not our fault.
Yeah, you're right about that.
When you're playing UMass and your quarterback's got 5 touchdown passes early in the second quarter, because I thought I will say this: I'm not up for all these rule changes and all these sports and the baseball and the bases and all that crap, but the rule in college football now where the clock doesn't stop until inside 2 minutes, I think is wonderful.
Oh, when you go out of bounds?
The clock keeps running. And
I noticed that yesterday in the Russian game.
It was amazing. It was like, wow, like the games aren't going to take 6.5 hours anymore.
I thought that was really great that they did that.
It just gives you some urgency where the clock is like you could be up a touchdown with a minute left and you can get 2 more possessions out of it, each team. Like
yeah. Like the clock also doesn't stop on first downs like it used to either.
Correct.
That's
a huge difference.
That was ridiculous.
Right. Yeah, that was a huge difference.
Yeah.
I just think it makes them play more.
Yeah.
I think that's
it puts a little urgency into the game.
And like it's another rule going to the next level too. They don't do that at the next level, so why do it now? Why do it down there? And I agree with that.
Yeah, I kind of
All right,
like
let's
that.
get into
the
week
NFC.
1. You do the NFC. Yeah, we do have to do the NFC.
Yeah, we have to do the NFC.
Picks. Oh, we have to?
I like the Eagles. I think the Eagles they win 12 games. I got 5 losses on the schedule. Somehow 5 losses, 12-4. But I think they're going to be better at the end of the day than last year, even though their record won't be as good. I like Seattle in the West. I don't trust this quarterback situation. Now, Darnold or Purdy, they may be good, but, Nick Bosa is nowhere in sight. I think Seattle's good, so I like them in the West. I do think the Niners will get a wild card. The North, I think it's kind of Detroit. Thursday is going to be really interesting for Detroit. I hate saying that, a week 1 game is a must win, and it's not a must win because there's a lot of football to go. But I hope Detroit shows up because their fans are excited. I think they have a good team. I like Campbell. I hope they show up. I think they will. I think they win the North.
I think they're going to get spanked, to be honest with you.
I do like the 6.5. Spread 6.5 in that game. I love the Lions getting those points.
I think Kansas City is going to spank them. Yeah, I could see Detroit maybe coming back late and maybe getting a backdoor cover on the spread, but I think they're going to get spanked. Their defense is better, but Kansas City's going to tear them up.
I don't know. They can score.
Detroit?
I think the Lions are going to be able to score.
Yeah, they'll score 30 points, and the Chiefs will score like 45.
That's the over. Brad likes the over. Okay.
I love the over in that game.
And I like the Saints down in the South.
Why? Quarterback?
I mean,
I'm just asking.
There's not much. Yeah, I think they have the most good players in that division, and I think they have the best quarterback in that division. I don't know. I can't
trust Baker Mayfield.
No. And Atlanta intrigues me, but is Desmond Ridder really gonna?
That's my point.
Make the playoffs.
You go from one division that's got. We just mentioned it, like one division that's like 4 Hall of Famers in it, and then you got Baker Mayfield, like the dude from Alabama, Ridder, and Carr,
and Bryce Young. He's small, and
I hope I hope we get to see at some point what he truly can do at the NFL level, where he's not running for his life and he doesn't get the Carr disease where he gets murdered so soon that we never really see what he can do.
Because he's small as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
I thought they should have taken Stroud, but I guess we'll see. But their offensive line, they traded their best receiver to move up to get.
I don't trust any Ohio State quarterback in the NFL. Sorry.
That's such an ancient take.
You
don't think it's different?
Bears got one now.
Different?
The Bears got one now, and
all those other quarterbacks from the 90s and the 80s, that's when they ran the ball 50, 60 times a game. It's a modern spread offense at Ohio State now.
When Urban Meyer was there, do you remember? You forget about those dudes? The guy had the best arm ever. Guys, where's he at now?
Well,
I know who you're talking about. He's on the Saints as a third-string quarterback, right? I know who you're talking about. I just can't remember his name.
Terrell Pryor. He didn't do anything.
Yeah,
I guess there's a little bit of merit. I mean, I try not to paint with a broad brush because I do like Stroud and I do like Fields.
But you're in an offensive friendly NFL, a pass happy NFL, and he's a running quarterback.
You're saying Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud?
Fields,
okay.
And Fields to me was leap years better than C.J. Stroud. Leap years.
I think he's a better athlete. I think Stroud can spin it. I think Stroud's a better thrower than
I think Fields is tougher. Fields got murdered in college in those playoff games. And he still kept coming back, making throws. He can't. I mean, you can't spin it in the NFL. I think. But again, I think Fields is the best one to come out of there in a long time, and still.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have the Bears in the playoffs. Wild cards, seventh wild card in the NFC is going to be interesting.
They might have.
I do like the Niners. And I do like the Giants to grab a wild card. And then I don't know. Maybe the Falcons can do it. But I don't see two teams making it from the South.
No.
And Dallas, I think Dallas is going to be not that great. I think they start 2-4 and the wheels come off down there. Because they have the Giants. I think they lose week 1 to the Giants. Then they have the Patriots and the Falcons. They should win those games, especially Arizona, who's just awful. And then the Jets are in there somewhere. Let's see if I have it here.
The Jets are weak too.
And I think the Chargers are in there. The Niners are in there. So it's Giants.
But then again, like I said,
Jets.
the NFC East has the AFC East. That's not, you know what I mean? Like, so some crappier team is going to get in the NFC that don't belong over somebody else on strength of schedule.
The strength of schedule is not going to work out too good for the Commanders.
No.
But
I think Sam Howell's underrated. So I don't know where I'm going with
NFC South, they're division champs.
I completely agree with
every year. Outside of,
I don't understand what happened with Sam Howell. Sam Howell was supposed to be the first pick in the draft. He had to go back to North Carolina. Had a disappointing season. Then he's a 5th rounder. So what, he forgot how to play? That hype just went away.
He was not good. I'm so glad he decommitted from Florida State. Oh, we'll see. I'm out on him. I don't see it.
I guess
didn't see it in college and don't see it here. People forget it. North Carolina, he had 2 wideouts that could freaking absolutely were phenomenal college players. Phenomenal.
I mean, the 7 seed should be Dallas on paper, but the game's not played on paper. I think Dak Prescott stinks. And you got Minnesota up there, the Bears up there, and the Packers up there. I don't think the Packers make it.
I'm not sold on the Vikings making it. As bad as
neither am I, because they had everything go right last year. They won every close game. They were down 33-0 in a game at halftime and came back and won somehow. And then they choked in the playoffs against They choked in the playoffs against Brad's Giants. They threw a check down on 4th and 8.
That may have been one of the dumbest plays ever. One of the dumbest calls ever.
Between that and not giving the ball to Marshawn Lynch on the goal line in the Super Bowl.
It's still the dumbest. Let's put it this way. I feel like I'm harsh, and I get that. For anybody that called that, they should never be allowed to coach in the NFL ever again.
What are you thinking? He got them all the way down there. Then
they throw the ball.
A slant. I don't know. All right, Brad, who you got in the NFC?
If they had called timeout and said, okay, in order for this to be fair, Marshawn Lynch has to take off his cleats and all his pads and just go out there in a helmet, I'm still giving him the ball on the 1-yard line in the Super Bowl.
And his socks.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll give you – you can wear your helmet, no mouthpiece, take your shoes off and take your shoulder pads off and take your socks off. I'm still giving you the ball and thinking you're going to get a yard.
Yep. Absolutely.
Even I can – it's like that looks stupid. They're trying to be cute and they lost. Like, you can't explain that.
That's Pete Carroll.
Pete Carroll. If I'm the coach and I give it to Marshawn Lynch, I'll be like, all right, we have the best power back of
no matter who made the call. Pete Carroll's the coach. He could have.
Everybody's got a headset on. You're listening to the same crap. Like, hang on, you're gonna do what? Wait, what? Did I hear? Yeah. Hang on, you're gonna we're no. Just give the like. I would tell, hey, we're running it up the middle with Marshawn Lynch. Here, stop it.
Well, that's
I would have put it on the Jumbotron.
Bill Parcells used to do that when he was coaching the Giants. Okay, they would make calls to throw the ball, and then Bill Parcells, if he didn't like the call, he'd just say, "Run it, run it, run it, run it," and that was it. And they no screw it around. They would just run the ball. because they loved Otis Anderson and Joe Morris back then. And why not? And they had the offensive line to do it with too.
As hard as the AFC picks are, these are just as hard for opposite reasons.
Opposite reasons, yeah.
Yeah,
You're trying to pick teams by default.
It's not easy.
I would like to see Atlanta make noise.
I don't see that. I
like what they're doing. I mean, they got everything figured out, it seems like, except quarterback. And Ritter might be good. We don't know.
I think the Panthers have a better shot of
I don't see that at all. They have no line. They have no playmakers. They have their own issues with Brian Burns, their best pass rusher. He wants a new contract. I don't think he's in camp.
No, they. I mean, listen, that division, as bad as it is, that division is. I wouldn't say it's wide open. That should be New Orleans' division, but the rest of them,
I don't think it's wide open at all.
I don't. I think it's New Orleans' division. The rest of the division, I think, is wide open.
Should be
second, third, and fourth. They're all awful.
So who do you got, Brad?
I'm going to say the Eagles are going to win the division. I'm going to go with Minnesota. And Detroit has to show me. This is kind of like a thing with the Jets. Detroit needs to show me the money first. Okay. Every time they make noise, they seem to make noise when it's too late. Okay. Go out there and win the division. But until you win the division, I'm going to go with Minnesota. Because Minnesota still has the best quarterback in that division. They still have the best receiver in that division. And until further notice, I think Minnesota is going to find a way to win that division. It may not be pretty. They may be 9-8, but they'll win the division. Detroit is going to do what they always do. They're going to win. They're going to win some very impressive games, and then they're going to have some unexplainable losses that just don't make any sense because that's Detroit. And until further notice, that's where I'm going to go with that. New Orleans, as I said, wins by default. Nobody else even has any semblance of a good NFL football team anymore. Tampa Bay is the closest to showing a semblance of a good football team, but they're not good enough. And who knows with Mike Evans, he could end up being a New York Giant for all we know. A lot of talk about that. In the West, I like you, Rob. I like Seattle to win the division. I think that the three wildcard teams are going to be the Lions. No, not the Lions. I'm sorry. Scratch that. The 49ers, the Giants, and 49ers, the Giants. And who's the other one? Yeah. Dallas, yes. I think Dallas finds a way to make the playoffs. Because again, the NFC is just not good. Dallas will be good enough to find a way to get in. The only thing that scares me about the Giants is I'm very nervous about their secondary. So they got a lot of young players. They got some good, young, talented players, but they're young, and I just don't know if they're going to be able to hold up for a whole season.
I like your guys' draft.
Oh, I like the draft
you guys
too.
Drafted a lot. I like the cornerback you got out of Maryland. I love Jalen Hyatt. I can't believe he went in the third round.
Yeah, he has had one heck of a preseason and one heck of a camp from what I'm hearing. Also, a lot of noise about Mike Evans, Rob. A lot of noise about it. 4th and 5th pick. They Tampa Bay wants a 4th and 5th pick this year, and then next year a 5th. That's it. They want
a lot of teams should be interested in that. Mike Evans is good.
Yeah, well, the Giants are trying to get him. My question is how they fit him under the cap, but they just went and they restructured Daniel Jones's contract. So if that's not a hint that something may be brewing with the Giants in Tampa Bay, you heard it here first, folks. Mike Evans could be a New York Giant.
Is that immediately, you think, or do you think a trade deadline?
I think it's before the season starts.
You got 3 days to get it done.
NFL trade deadline. I just don't get that.
Well, that's there's been a lot there. Listen, they just They just restructured Daniel Jones's contract. Okay, and supposedly there's
give all the money back.
well, listen,
All the money back.
Doug, you and I have different opinions about him. I think
Give it to Saquon.
I think he's going to surprise you. Okay, and we'll see what happens. But where there's smoke, there could be fire here. I mean, I'm just looking at the empirical data here, and the empirical data says that says something's going on with the Giants. That there's a reason why they did that. And I keep hearing that they're after Mike Evans. So we'll see what happens.
Doug, your thoughts on the NFC?
Oof. All right. I got Eagles in the East, Niners in the West, Lions in the North, Saints in the South. I got the Cowboys as a wild card. The Vikings, I think, sneak in by lack of playing anybody else. And I'm stuck between the Seahawks and the Giants as the last playoff spot. I think the Lions will win I think they win the North because they still scored more points than anybody else did in their division last year, even with a 13-win team in their division. So the Packers are not going to be very good. I don't think the Bears are going to be very good. It all boils down to I picked the Saints just because I think they have the most experience at the quarterback position. Whether he stays healthy or not, I still think they have their defense is stout enough to where they can stay in there and win games. I hope Geno Smith can do it, but I just don't trust. I don't trust your boy Danny Dimes. I don't trust it. I just don't trust it. So I'll probably go with. I guess I'll do the Seahawks as the last slot, only because they have the Cardinals in their division.
Oh, hey, listen. There's no guarantees. There's no guarantees with the New York Giants.
I tell you what, Roger Goodell's loving life because there's just everybody uses the word parity. I don't think I think when you think of the word parity, I think of average. I think parity this year means like what would be what normal 2 or 3 seeds in the conference are like. Does that make sense? Like parity for now is like 2 seeds. Maybe get a bye week in the playoffs.
Look, the parity.
Right, the parity.
Right now in the NFC, you got, and as much as I hate to say it, Eagles up here, rest of the NFC is down here.
I don't know. I think the Niners are. I think the Niners are up there too. I like the way they're built. I think they're built to plug and play. With that.
Listen. I have nothing against the Niners. I think they're really. I hope you're right. Okay, but I just think right now, offensively, the Eagles are going to end up every week scoring close to either 30 or more points.
Well, for
from
sure.
hell or high water.
Yeah.
Because they're that good offensively. I don't see the 49ers being good enough to do that consistently every week. And if they play each other, I don't think it's going to change. I think the Eagles will score in the 30s. I don't think the 49ers can put 30 up on the Eagles. That's just right now. That's how I look at it. The Eagles are just going to be very tough to handle. If you're a defense, it's going to be tough to handle them. They just have so many weapons, and they're so good offensively. It's going to be very tough.
There's a lot of.
All right, let's go through these week 1 games before we get out of here. Sports Jeopardy will come up next. Fandemonium with Andy and Frank, and then Rivals will comes on at 10 right after that, taking you into the night here at A2B Radio.
And don't forget, tomorrow night we have the Hockey Happy Hour.
Hockey Happy Hour. The hockey's rapidly approaching.
Yes. My Rangers will be playing on September 24th on their first preseason game. So it'll be fun.
Oh, okay, preseason.
We're picking these games. We're picking these games like with no spread, right? Just straight up, no points.
Yeah, I mean, we touch on the spread.
We touch on the spread, but you can pick whatever you want.
You can pick whatever you want. So, I mean, Thursday night, Kansas City Chiefs at home, ring night, ceremony night against the Detroit Lions.
NFL teams usually lose ceremony night.
I completely agree with you.
Seems like everybody, every sport, you lose the day they hand the rings out and raise a flag, they get thumped. But not this week.
I do think it's a close game.
Oh, for sure.
Should be a lot of points. It's a 6.5 point spread for those interested, but it would seem that the Chiefs should win this game.
They win that game, I think.
We get the Sunday Niners traveling across the country, playing at 1:00 in Pittsburgh without Nick Bosa. Nobody knows what's going on with their quarterback. I like the Steelers in this game. Slight underdogs. I think the Steelers get this done at home.
Wait, the Steelers are underdogs?
Steelers are home dogs to the Niners.
Oh, that should be a gimme then.
I trust San Fran.
You trust San Fran.
I just Bosa without Bosa, that defense, it's still good. Okay, it's still very good. I just don't know. The Steelers are going to be a handful this year.
Baker Mayfield and Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're traveling to Minnesota.
I got the Vikings.
Yeah, I got
the Vikings there too. Jaguars travel to Indianapolis.
Oh, jeez.
Is that game even televised on the package?
I don't know.
That's the NFL Sunday Ticket's worst nightmare. Jacksonville against Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Houston's traveling to Baltimore. I think that's
going to be an ugly one too.
Which was that?
That's a tough. The Texans traveling to Baltimore.
Oh,
that's a tough draw for C.J. Stroud to start his first game on the road.
Lamar might
Lamar might run for 200 and throw for 300.
Yeah, he's going to put up like PlayStation numbers.
Yeah,
I mean, the Ravens, no matter what their record is, they're always physical and tough, and that's not they're not. Yeah,
the Texans are not going to know what hit them with that game.
It's a 10-point spread, but I'm not even sure that's enough. Titans and Saints in the Superdome.
Ooh.
That's a tough one.
Saints have a better quarterback, and they're.
I think Vrabel wins that game.
Yeah, I do too.
Wouldn't surprise me at all.
I could definitely see Tennessee winning that game.
Arizona coming east. Now, when I'm looking at these games, Doug, I look at this is the second West Coast team. Arizona's going to play at Washington at 1:00. Is that time zone thing as an athlete? Is that a thing?
Week one,
or do I make too much of it?
So. Week 1, I don't think so.
No.
I mean, week 12 after back-to-back, maybe it plays a little bit. But teams now are starting to stay out there all week. Yes, it matters, but it's not like they're flying coach and they got middle seats. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They do. I mean, it does affect you, but they go out. I think they go out early enough, and teams are aware of it now more than ever. That week 1, you're so amped to get the season started. It doesn't matter where you play.
Well, Arizona's traveling to Washington, and the Cardinals might not win a game this year. This is one of the worst rosters on paper that I've ever seen. Right. We've seen bad teams, but
they're bad. Who's their quarterback now?
What's his name? Josh Dobbs.
Josh Dobbs.
Oh,
the guy that could barely start in college.
Oh.
So he's good enough to start for Jonathan Gannon. This will be interesting for the Commanders to get off on the right foot, because I think that they're going to be right in contention for that 7th NFC playoff.
I could see a 24-7 kind of game. Maybe 24-3 for the Commanders in that general vicinity. I mean, I don't think the Commanders are going to score a lot of points first week of the season, just because it's going to be hard for. I think it's going to be hard for a lot of teams to really create a lot of offense early, because only 3 games.
They don't take preseason seriously.
That's what I'm saying. So they may not score a lot of points against the Cardinals. Defense might might hold them down somewhat, but like 24-3, 24-10, something like that, or maybe 27-3, 27-10 in that general vicinity. But they
you got the Bengals going to Cleveland.
Bengals.
Ooh, that's going to be a tough game.
Bengals.
Yeah, the Bengals should find a way.
What's the spread of that game?
2.5. Browns are 2.5 point home dogs.
Yeah, all right, I figured that.
Hate giving
That
up.
might be my upset of the week.
You know what? I hate giving up points on the first game to a division opponent. Week 1. There's
a lot of intriguing games, and there's a lot of games you're like,
That's really what it is. You know, like
that is an intriguing kind of game.
Green Bay at the Bears. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, Chicago.
Oh boy,
stop it. That's going to be.
Bears are favored at 1.
Someone has to win that game. Someone has to win that game. Not necessarily. They might tie.
Yeah, I think Green Bay will find a way to beat them.
The premier game, at least in my opinion, on the late afternoon slate, your Dolphins, Doug, are going to Los Angeles to take on the Chargers.
We have to be 6-point dogs, aren't we? 4 to 6.
You are 3-point. Chargers are 3-point favorites. So Miami's 3-point dogs.
I'd take the Chargers. Only because they did a number on us last year. When we were rolling, and they put we put our offense to a screeching halt.
So physically they're too much. They don't match up physically. Okay.
Did Tua play in that game?
Yes.
You got the Eagles going to Foxborough.
I haven't checked on him if Armstead's playing or not. I know he got carted off the field like 3 weeks ago in practice.
A couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah, and I haven't checked because I've been so enthralled in my FSU football team that I haven't really kept up on.
You're forgiven.
That's all right.
That's okay. You get a win like that.
Eagles traveling to Foxborough. I don't like laying points on the road, but I think the Eagles are just better.
Yeah.
What's the line of that game?
4.
That's it?
That's it. I think it's like a 38-17 type of game in the Eagles' favor.
The Eagles
score 17 points.
It might be generous. You get garbage time and different things.
I agree.
Happen.
You're right. The 2 scores in the 4th.
But I mean,
4 points.
You're going to need. I mean, nobody's beating the Eagles unless they just lay an offensive egg. If you don't score 30 points, and Mac Jones, I don't think can put up 30 points.
Exactly.
Eagles pulled off. I think if the Eagles pulled off 5 starters on defense, and only played with 6, I think he could score 30 in the NFL. If it was 11 on 6, I think he might pull it off.
Yeah, they're not scoring 30 points against them.
No shot.
They're not scoring 20 against them either.
Shot.
So,
primetime games: Dallas going to New York. The Giants, a 3.5-point home dog. That's disrespectful.
I'll take the 3.5.
And then you have the Jets.
I think the Giants win the game. I think the Giants win the game outright.
I think the Giants win the game outright too. The Bills and the Jets. Jets are at home. They're also a lot of home dogs this week. A lot of home dogs. Jets getting 2.5 with Buffalo. Sounds like you guys are on Buffalo.
Yes.
And I like.
They're gonna. I'm curious. I'm just very curious to see what the Jets look like.
Like we said, they better start fast. All right, last thing, Super Bowl predictions. Who is playing in the big game and who is going to win the big game? I have the Eagles over the Chargers. I think Jalen Hurts gets himself a ring this year. Probably wins MVP as well. Probably should have been the MVP of both the regular season and the Super Bowl last year. The Eagles, you always say it, Doug, attitude reflects leadership. And I think the Eagles are in really good shape with Jalen Hurts as the franchise quarterback. And I think Nick Sirianni is a really good coach. I think he's not going to let them get complacent and have this Super Bowl hangover, as some teams like to do.
I just think they're that much more talented than everybody else. I'm going Bengals over the Eagles.
Bengals over the Eagles.
Correct.
Seems to be a popular.
But I wouldn't be shocked to see the Niners against the Bills. I just think it's too hard. I think it's too hard to repeat. I just think it's too hard to repeat. I think it's hard to get there, period, let alone repeat.
Brad, what do you think?
Unfortunately, I think it's going to be Kansas City and the Eagles again. I just can't see it turning out any differently. I'd like to say Buffalo and the Eagles, with Buffalo finally winning the Super Bowl, but I just don't. I right now, until somebody knocks down the champ, I got to go with the champ.
Would Goodell allow that again, though?
I don't know.
Don't give me theories.
Yeah.
You got a point there. You do.
Yeah, because the Eagles are Philly's a major market, and Kansas
City
there's enough people. The best player.
Yeah, there's enough people who watch, who watch who are pro or who either like or dislike the Eagles to watch. It's just kind of the Eagles have gotten to the point now where the Cowboys are. Okay, there's enough people who have strong feelings both ways on the Cowboys. A lot of people are big Cowboy fans, and anybody who's not a Cowboy fan absolutely hates the Cowboys. And the weekend is not complete unless the Cowboys lose. I happen to be one of those people who, to me, if the Cowboys lose, okay, no matter what happens with the Giants, if the Cowboys lose, then the weekend was a success. So
I feel that way about Florida, University of Florida.
Gotcha. Well, they certainly look like dog shit. They were terrible.
Graham Mertz.
Utah.
I don't like when teams are down. That's why I'm not one of those guys that run their mouth. Like I like when is really good. Miami. I like when Florida is really good. It just means
Utah is a pretty good team.
But they beat him with a third-string quarterback.
Utah did it. Utah did it so easily. I mean, and they could have scored more if they really wanted to. I thought that they kind of took it easy on them in the fourth quarter.
I get it.
Don't you think? I mean, they kind of backed off a little bit. I thought in the fourth quarter, because I mean, Florida just did everything in their possible. Florida did everything possible to lose that game. I mean, how many illegal procedure penalties can you have on 3rd and 1? Where they have 3 of them?
They're terrible.
Hey, that was unbelievable. They were laughably bad.
All right, that'll do it. This edition, Sports Jeopardy's coming up next, followed by Rivals. Doug Minkiewicz, Brad Ryer, I'm Rob Brinkman. Enjoy week 1 of the NFL. We'll be back next Monday. Enjoy what's left of your holiday Labor Day weekend. Be safe out there, everyone, and go Birds.